What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and tonight I've got some football focus. I'm continuing my Pittsburgh Steelers positional breakdowns that I've been doing all offseason, pre- and post-draft. Now, I've talked already about what the Steelers can do coming into the next season at the running back spot, especially considering the guys that are behind Najee and the guys that have been here for a couple of years behind Najee, and kind of who's on the bubble there. I've talked also about wide receiver, all the guys that left us and the guys we drafted and brought in, and kind of who could play where next season. So if you guys want a breakdown of who's on the bubble, who can make an impact, and who is going to fill out our depth chart at running back and wide receiver, go check out those videos. They are two of my last videos on this channel. I also broke down the undrafted free agents and all the rounds of the draft. So plenty of draft coverage, plenty of free agent coverage, all kind of stuff on this channel. But tonight, I wanted to talk about another one of the really interesting spots next year, about who could make it where and kind of who fills the depth chart out and who's on the bubble on the defensive line. Now, the D-line historically has been one of the strongest points of the Steelers. Pittsburgh has been known as that physical presence, that get off the edge, that get you in the backfield, big run pressure, stopping the run game, being the hard-nosed, physical push-em-back team that Pittsburgh usually is on defense, and that the start of that always came from the D-line. But last season, and really in the midst of the last 2 years amongst injuries, Pittsburgh fell off of that big time. Pittsburgh was one of the worst run-stopping teams in the league last year, and aside from Cam Hayward, no one really got to the quarterback out of that front three either. The bulk of our presence on defense has come from T.J. Watt and somewhat lesser from Alex Highsmith. But a lot of it comes down to injuries and guys that are not on the field. Now, again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If we have our front three playing healthy all season, if we get Alawalu and Tuitt back, we are one of the best front threes in the entire league. If you look at Cam, Alawalu, and Tuitt, all healthy, you've got three guys who are veteran presences with great motors, who are good run stuffers, who are good at batting balls, who are good at getting to the quarterback. But will we have those guys back? Alawalu's coming off of a season-ending ankle injury and ankle surgery, I think after week 2 of last season, and Stephon Tuitt missed almost the entirety of last season after the passing of, I believe it was his brother that passed away. So we still have two big uncertainties in that front three, which caused a lot of backups to play last year, and we did not get the pressure or the run stops that we're used to getting. So I want to go over kind of the guys that we have, the guys who've been drafting over the last couple of years, and what it could mean for us this season. Now, again, the uncertainty here comes from, are our guys going to play? If we get the front three back, we're going to be an elite defense. Imagine, having the guys we have on the outside and the guys we added at inside linebacker and corner and safety, along with a front three that's healthy. This defense automatically, if we're better there, having Alawalu and Tuitt makes us an elite defense. If they aren't there, or they aren't the same, or they aren't healthy, or they aren't mentally checked in, or all those things, we're going to be in trouble. So here's what we have. Cam Hayward is coming into his 12th season. He's played 11 seasons so far. Last season, one of his strongest years as a Steeler. He gets better with age. He's like a fine wine. He's just a physical leader. He's a calming voice. He's a beast on the field. You can't get much better than Cam Hayward as far as leaders, guys for the community, guys in the locker room, guys on the field. Cam had 89 tackles total last year and 10 sacks. One of our biggest presences. He is who he is. He's dependable. He's a beast. He's a tackler. He's a run stuffer. He's a sacker. You love that guy. You know he's going to be one of your aces on defense. Then you got Tyson Alawalu coming into his 13th season. He missed all of last year after week 2 with an ankle injury. Played several seasons in Jacksonville. Came back for the last 3 or 4 in Pittsburgh, and has really become a big-time staple here in Pittsburgh. He was a bench guy that came over from Jacksonville, was kind of considered a bust for what he did based on where he was drafted. He wasn't really a bust, but he was like an average player. He wasn't up to the potential that Jacksonville saw in him. He came in from Pittsburgh. He played off the bench for us, really behind Javon Hargrave. And once Hargrave left to go be a beast in Philadelphia, still sad to see him leave, Alawalu became an elite D tackle. I mean, he played off the edge on the bench for a while, played a D tackle for us. He can play all 3 spots, but the guy is really an unsung hero. He's an absolute beast. He can bat balls. He can get pressure. He's just really good all over the field. He's got good IQ, and he's played up to his full potential in the last several years. I really like Alawalu a lot, but losing him last year was really our Achilles heel. That was our biggest loss out of everyone. All the injuries we had all season, he was the anchor. He was the big loss. Really big piece to our defense that we think is healthy now. It looks like he's healthy and it looks like he's going to play this season, probably in his last season. So we're going to have to look at some of those bench guys we have now to replace him after 2022. I think it's going to be his last year as long as he comes back and plays healthy. But he is a big addition to this defense if he comes back healthy. The biggest question mark we have is Stephon Tuitt. He's coming into his 9th season. Played 8 years with varying injuries here and there, but missed all of 2021 after the passing of, like I said, I think it was his brother. Missed all of last year. But the season before that in 2020, he came out and played healthy all year and had 11 sacks. So he's elite. I mean, he's proven that he can be a number 1 DN, and you put him on the level he was on 2020 with Cam at the level he was on 2021, you've got two absolute beasts that you have to guard one-on-one because you got TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith on the outside. You can't double team all those guys. You got absolute monsters if those guys are healthy. But the question is Stephon Tuitt mentally able to come back? And I mean, losing a family member is hard. We wish him the best, and we hope the best for his family, and it's just very tough. And he didn't seem like he was ready to be on the field last year, so he wasn't, and more power to him. But we need him back to play at his fullest potential again, like he was at 2020, if we're able to be an elite defense again. Now we look at a few of the guys that came off the bench last year in their stead when those guys were gone. And we look first at Chris Wormley, who's coming into, I think, his 6th season. He played the first 3 years in Baltimore. Was a high draft pick, played okay, but nothing special for them. Came in as a veteran backup piece who was thrust into the starting lineup pretty quick for us, especially last season. Coming off of a very solid season last year. I mean, he doesn't get the kind of pressure that Alawalu and Tuitt do, but he's another guy that can play on the DN line. He can play D-tackle. Preferably he's inside, but he can play either way. Becoming really good at batting balls. He's been effective at batting balls and doing the Cam Hayward thing. 51 tackles and 7 sacks last season. Really like what he did last year. He was one of our better, more consistent players. Again, he's not a splash play guy, though. He's not an every down, going to get in there consistently, going to force a lot of fumbles. He's not going to wreck your gameplay, but he is going to stay in his gaps, and he is going to make solid play. So he's not going to bring you what Tuitt or Alawalu do, but he's a very solid veteran guy who can come in and give you good reps, and that's what he did last season, starting a lot of the year and playing in his best season so far. So he's a very valuable guy back there, and he can start when he has to, but I think he's just not at the level of a Cam, Tuitt, or Alawalu. Then you have the other guy I was really impressed with. In his rookie season last year, Isaiah Loudermilk, they traded up to the 5th round to get him. I thought it was a bad move at the time. I was proven wrong. He had a pretty good preseason. I was pretty impressed by his motor. Guy's pretty fast for his size. Doesn't have the best technique, but gets in there with sheer power. I like what he did last year. Came in, played a little bit, 23 tackles. I think he had 2 batted balls and 1 sack. So really solid for a rookie guy. Didn't play enough in my opinion. I would have liked to have seen him play a little more, taking some of those reps away from a Henry Mondeaux or even a Montrevis Adams. He's going to play outside. He's going to back up Cam Hayward on the outside. I want to see him play a little more. If Cam needs a break with his age or anything like that, Loudermilk can fill in. I think he has a lot of potential. I think we could be looking at the next starter here after Cam retires. He's not going to play long either. We know that Alawalu and Cam don't have long to go. I'm not wishing that on us. I want to see those guys play for us forever, especially Cam. But when his time is up, Loudermilk has a similar body type and similar strength. Nowhere near his level, obviously, but I think he could be something for us as a starter. And I want to see him get a few more reps, especially in preseason. Start this guy a lot. Let's see what we got out of him. He's someone who really impressed me last year. And numbers, we usually keep about 6 or 7 guys. This is number 6, and this is a guy I'm also really impressed with. Marvin Layout, the 3rd round draft pick out of Texas A&M. He played a lot on the outside last year. I think he had 8 sacks last year. Was around the ball a lot of tackles. I like this guy. Solid power for his size, good speed. He's an outside guy that plays like an inside guy. He's going to translate more to a D tackle in the NFL. I like this guy a lot. If God forbid, if something happens with Alawalu, and I don't want that to happen, I'm not speaking that into existence. But Marvin Layout looks like somebody who's a freakish athlete for a guy on the inside. He's got outside speed with inside moves, and he's used to playing inside techniques. So I like him at D-tackle here. And people talk about his run tackling. He had a lot of tackles last year at A&M in his first full season there. Yeah, he's got to work on his overall strength. He's got to bulk up a little bit, and he's got to get more consistent in tackling the running backs. But I like him for this system. He kind of reminds me in some ways of Javon Hargrave. Nowhere near the strength or size. Obviously, it's a two very different size guys. But I like the athleticism and I like the energy he brings so far, and I think he's going to be a benefit to us. Now you say, okay, you got three starters and three backups. If we go into the season like this. So you have six guys. So who's playing for that 7 spot? We have at least 3 guys here who have been here for a couple of years who are playing for that backup that 7 spot. If we're going to keep 7 guys, if we're only keeping 6, we're looking at 3 guys on the way out here. But if we're keeping 7, or if there's an injury, who can step up and fill in that roster spot and possibly look to impress us in the preseason? These 3 guys are on the bubble, and they could go either way. It's going to be very interesting. One of those guys is Montrevis Adams. He's in his 6th season in the NFL. He played, I think, 4 years for the Green Bay Packers. Didn't light the world on fire, but was okay. Played then in his 5th season for the New Orleans Saints and was on the practice squad for them. Pittsburgh signed him from the practice squad last year in his 5th year, and he came in and played valuable minutes. We were at the end of the bench trying to find guys that can make an impact, and benching guys left and right trying to find someone to give us a little spark. And that's what Adams did. It wasn't massive, but he did have 1 or 2 batted balls, and he did have, I think, 11 tackles overall for us. And I think that could be total. Either 11 total or 11 last year. But I think played pretty well. In the stead of the guys that were injured and gone. I liked Adams a lot. In a short sample size, he made himself seen out there. Again, he's not a splash player. It's kind of the Wormley thing. He didn't get a whole lot of time, but when he did, he didn't do many spectacular things, but he was noticed a couple times. He got a few pressures. I think he got a batted ball or 2. He got in there a little bit, and it was nothing special, but it was solid play from a guy who came off a practice squad in his 5th season. So he gave us more than you expect. And we did re-sign him this offseason, so he is someone to look at. He's someone we could see ourselves using a little bit. So if there's an injury or if there's a guy on the bubble, he's right up there with pretty good play last season. Speaking of guys who played a lot last season, Henry Mondeaux. I was never big on this guy. He's in his 2nd season. He was drafted, undrafted free agent, a 2nd season for us, I should say. Undrafted free agent in 2018. Bounced around to 2 different teams. I think he was on the Chiefs for a little bit. Bounced around to a few different teams. Came in for us 2 seasons. He did start 2 games last year with a couple guys having injuries. Overall, he's got 2 sacks and a forced fumble. He's not a bad player. I was in favor of cutting him last season. I didn't think he gave us enough. I think he's been around the league and he's not necessarily improved a whole lot. So him bouncing around kind of gives me a bad feeling about his longevity here. That being said, he does have 2 sacks and a forced fumble. He makes a few plays, in the preseason. He is seen out there. I mean, there's a reason why he keeps making it back on the team. I think we've cut him and put him back on the practice squad and re-signed him and brought him up several times now. It's happened 2 or 3 times with him. So Pittsburgh can't really quit him. It's the Brokeback Mountain. We can't quit you, Henry Mondeaux. He always finds his way back on the team. And when he does, again, he's not giving you anything spectacular, but he makes enough plays to keep himself around. He's always around the system. I could see him, again, fighting with Montevis Adams for that 7 spot / practice squad spot. Could be a possible call-up later in the season. Again, I'm bigger on Adams in a short time than I am on Mondeaux in the 2 seasons that I've seen him here. Mondeaux didn't overall impress me, but again, he does make those plays that make you go, okay, he's going to find a way into his last spot. He's going to make the team in that last roster spot. So it's going to be interesting. And there's one other guy here, Carlos Davis. He was a 7th round pick for us in 2020. He's got 11 tackles so far in the last 2 seasons. Didn't play much last year, was activated, I think, in December. So I don't know if he was injured. I think he was. But he might have just been not playing. Didn't make the roster overall. But yeah, 11 tackles total in 2 seasons. Big guy. Good energy for a big guy. I like him. He kind of has that Pittsburgh Steeler mentality. Just a big physical dude. But hasn't really done much to impress us. And again, we're talking about a few bones for a lot of dogs here, so to speak. Again, if Cam Tuitt and Alawalu are all healthy, you're probably only gonna keep 3 guys behind them. You have to think Cam Tuitt, Alawalu, Wormley, Isaiah Loudermilk, who we traded up to get and played well last season in his rookie year, and to Marvin Layout, who's a 3rd round draft pick. Those 6 got to be pretty much locked in. If anything, Loudermilk is on the bubble. I don't think he is. I think he played well enough to stay here. I think those 6 guys are locked in. If you got a 7th guy, you're fighting between Mondeaux, Montrevis Adams, and Carlos Davis to see who can impress you. I think Montrevis Adams has more of the upside, in my opinion, but it's not by a whole lot. None of those 3 guys have jumped out at you, but they've given you enough to kind of see what they have. I think Carlos Davis is gone, and I think either the loser of Adams and Mondeaux is gone, and possibly even both. So we'll see what happens. What do you guys think? Who impresses you in preseason? Who impresses you out of this group? Do you expect a Loudermilk to make a big jump in the second year? Do you expect the Marvin Layout to get on the field a lot in the first year? Do you think we're going to get to it and Alawalu back healthy, or are we going to have more of the same with injuries and absences and stuff like that? What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below who impresses you, and do we become the elite defense we once were again with our front 3, or do we rely on some of these new young guys to become future stars this year? What do you think? Please like, share, and subscribe if you like these videos. If you want to see more, please go back and check out my previous videos and keep your eyes peeled because I want to do more of these positional breakdowns in the future. Tell me what you guys think, and I will see you soon. Go Steelers.